Let me get started for you.
Do you guys still have your cauldron drink from your fall menu?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to do one of those 20 ounce.
Anything else?
That's it.
I have a 20 ounce cauldron.
Cool.
Ready for you at the window.
Perfect, thank you.
Hi, 611.
All right.
I'll be sign that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you, you have a great one.
You too. I got a fall drink for a Christmassy video. Tastes like Halloween. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse. My mic is about to die, so if the audio changes here in a second, that's why. Today I'm bringing you another read and rank where I take 6 books from a genre or a subgenre, read them and rank them Dance Mom's pyramid style. In today's video, I'm going to be focusing on holiday romances. I have 10 books to choose from. I'm not going to be reading all 10 because I just don't want to like devote my entire month to only reading holiday romances. And if I read all 10, that's what's gonna happen. I've been in the mood for some like light, cozy, heartwarming reads, and I feel like these books are bound to wrap me up in a blanket of charming lightheartedness. Yeah, if it doesn't, catch me kicking and screaming. Full on temper tantrum. I'm gonna go over all the books in my stack that I have here. We've got One Day in December, Noel the First, A Christmas Clash, True Love for Christmas, The Lights on Knockbridge Lane, The Holiday Swap, A Winter in New York, All I Want for Christmas, Talk Santa to Me, and Sweet on You. The book I'm gonna kick this video off with is Sweet on You. I started this book last year and I really enjoyed what I read of it, but I just never ended up committing to it. I was trying to do a holiday romance read and rank video last year, but it just did not work out for me. Hopefully this works out better for me this year. My mic died. This story takes place in the Philippines and we are following 2 competing cafes. What's that I hear? Rivals to lovers? That would be correct. That is the situation here. We follow Sari, who feels like the cafe next door is poaching her customers, and it ticks her off, but soon enough she finds herself charmed by the owner of the cafe. They're both dealing with big changes within their families, and we follow them as they form a connection beyond their rivalry. Let's hope I'm able to finish this one this year. Time for reading. Candles next to books feels incredibly dangerous, but it just feels right. It's a very gray day outside. I'm feeling very cozy inside, and candles add to the coziness. But if my books catch on fire, goodbye coziness. Anyway, I'm back. I finished reading Sweet on You, and this book is incredibly sweet. Pun fully intended. While this book is pitched as like a rivalry situation, that does not last very long. Like, not long at all. And I'm not even sure if this book should truly be classified as like rivals to lovers. One, because of how quick of a turnaround they go through, and also in the fact that it's a very one-sided rival situation. I'm like hyper aware of this candle right now. Sari, one of our main characters, the female lead, is the one that's like, how dare there be a bakery stealing my customers? How dare it smell so good in there? How dare it be an actually good quality bakery? How dare the owner be incredibly good looking? I really appreciated just how well-rounded the characters were. I feel like that's the thing that really stood out to me. We get such extensive backstories on the characters and get really deep insights on their family lives and like where they come from. Sari's family has always been involved in the coffee industry in some kind of way. And then our main guy character, the owner of the bakery, his name is Gabriel, and he is not as supported by his family. He's always been passionate about baking, and it's not that like his whole family is against him being involved in baking, it's more so just his dad. Like, the daddy issues were real in this book, the daddy issues were present, let me tell you. His dad is constantly being like such a dick and just being like, get a real job, like baking is not a real job, be a real man, get a real job. And that obviously causes a huge rift for Gabriel, and it makes him want to distance himself from his family. And when he does hear from his family, he doesn't really like go into the details of like what he's up to. He doesn't want to like share his life with them, for good reason obviously, because he doesn't want his dad to like find out what he's doing and be a huge dick. His dad's already being a dick, so why make him be an even bigger dick? Anyway, it's sad to see him kind of pull himself away from his family because he's losing the chance at having strong relationships with other family members. But because of his dad, he's setting very clear boundaries, and it makes sense that he would want to have those boundaries. We also see Sari dealing with her own family issues, though hers are much more so her just being like a protective older sister, and her just kind of grasping with the fact that her sisters are going to grow up and change and evolve, and her like having to just accept that and let go. And that's not to say that she's like a bad sister. In fact, she's a very in-tune sister. Like, she knows her sisters very well, is able to like read them and read the situations that they're going through, but she is just having a hard time letting go of them and like allowing them to like go and blossom because she just feels so protective over them. And it was really sweet seeing that relationship and just how much she cared and how much concern she had for them. We see as Sari and Gabriel kind of connect not only for their love of like baked goods and coffee and things like that, but also like their family issues, and I just like loved seeing the formation of their relationship because I feel like they just had so much in common. That being said, there were aspects of this book that I was like, about, but it's not like enough to like make it like a really bad book. Like, I really enjoyed this book. But some of the criticisms that I have for this book: one, the relationship develops so quickly. I don't want to say it's like an insta-love situation, though it technically is an insta-love situation. I would more so just call it like a rushed love situation. We have this moment where they have their first fight, and the way that they talk about each other in that first fight, it feels like they've been dating for like 3 years, when in fact they've only been dating for 3 days. I was able to overlook that kind of like rushed love situation just because I feel like they had built such a solid foundation in terms of like relating to each other, and their relationship made sense to me. Like, I feel like a lot of times insta-love situations end up in this place where it's just like they love the idea of each other, they don't really know each other, and that always bothers me. Whereas Gabriel and Sari, I feel like they just had a lot of things that like brought them together, and it made sense that they would like fall head over heels for each other. And the only other side-eye moment that I had during this book was during the sexy times. It's not that they were like badly written, it's just that some of the dialogue moments during the sexy times were a little bit questionable. Sari licked his neck, following it with a tiny suck. You taste like sugar. Please, please, please. Overall though, it was a very sweet story, more than just a romance, and it was filled to the brim with like mouth-watering descriptions of baked goods. Like, your boy's stomach was a rumblin' and a grumblin' while reading this book. It made me incredibly hungry and made me crave all the baked goods. I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it. I think it's a really good book. The next book that I've decided to read for this video is Talk Santa to Me. This is a YA romance. Historically, I don't do that well with YA romances, but this one just like sounds like it's gonna be such a wild and fun time, and I couldn't say no to it. I feel like it's gonna end up being really campy, and I really hope that it is really campy, because like that just sounds like so fun to me right now. We follow our main character, whose name is literally Frankincense, and they were born in a stable. Can't get much more camp than that. Her family owns a bunch of like Christmassy businesses. They have a Santa school, and they have like a Christmas holiday gift shop situation. Our main character Frankie feels like her aunt is running the family business into the ground, and so she feels like it's her job to just like come in and save the family business, because it means a lot to her. She had a very strong connection with her grandfather, who owned the businesses and like had a big hand in the businesses being so successful, and so she just has like this strong connection to it and wants to see it succeed, and she feels like her aunt doesn't care about it at all and is just in it for the money and is just running it into the ground. So she's trying to save it while also catching feelings for the guy who works on the Christmas tree lot. I'm super excited for this one. Time for reading, also time to blow out the candle so I don't burn all my books. Are you afraid of the dark? That's what that reminded me of. Anyway, time for reading. I feel like it's hard to see my snowflake, and that's the only reason I'm filming in this spot. But this is a snowflake. It's so wintry and Christmassy, guys. I finished Talk Santa to Me, and this book was so ridiculously fun. I do not think this will be a book for everyone. I feel like you have to have specific expectations when you're going into it. Just know that it's going to be like a silly, goofy, good time. And if you go in with those expectations, you're going to love it. That's what I did, and I loved it. Not only is it just like a silly, goofy, fun time with a few heartfelt moments throughout it, it's also not a romance book. I'm not sure why it's being classified as like a YA romance book. Maybe it's because I just want to snatch that audience up. Mind you, there is a romance in here, but it does not like take over the main plot. But the romance that develops is actually very sweet. It's a little awkward, but it's very sweet. I was shocked too, because I'm typically not like a YA romance kind of guy. Like, I've been burned time and time again by YA romances and just how like cringy they are. And I feel like more times than not, the YA romances that I've read, the characters fall in love and smother the book with their romance. Like, there might have been like a main plot building, and then the romance comes in and just swallows up that plot and says, nope, we're only going to showcase our cringy relationship, and we're fully madly in love after one day of talking to each other. Which, I get it, that works for some of y'all. Different strokes for different folks. Whatever floats your boat. But I can tell you for a fact, it does not float mine. I end up drowning in hatred. Why am I talking with this accent? We're going to drop it now and go back to normal Jesse. Midwestern Jesse came to the party, and now we're putting him away in hopes of him never coming back out again. So this one really focuses in on the family business aspect. Our main character becomes a key role within the business after a little hiccup occurs, and it's just so fun seeing her become incredibly passionate and also just like very skilled at her job. She basically becomes like Santa's assistant and is replying to all these letters that are coming in from all these little kids, and she's always had a connection to the family business because of her relationship with her grandfather, which those little moments that we see, those little flashbacks, are so like heartwarming, because you can just tell she has so much love for her grandfather, and she's still dealing with that grief and still dealing with that loss. And I think that I relate to that a lot, in how like connected she was to her grandfather. Like, that's how connected I was to my grandparents, and they continue to have like an impact on my life. So I always love when I find a character that I can relate to in that sense. There's also a focus on her and this difficult relationship that she has with her aunt. You can tell that they just really don't get each other, and they just like approach things in different ways, and that just really affects their relationship, and they just don't have an understanding for each other, and that can obviously cause a rift in a relationship, and it very much so causes a rift in their relationship. The thing that I appreciated the most about this book was just how Christmassy it was. Like, the first book that I read in this video was pretty Christmassy. Like, there were definitely some holiday bits sprinkled throughout it, but this one is just like smothered in Christmas. Like, the fact that we have like a Santa Claus school, we have this Christmas gift shop, we have our main character who becomes Santa's assistant. Like, it's just booming with Christmas, and I so appreciated that. You just put me in the mood for Christmas. Like, ho ho ho, let's go. If it serves one thing, it is Christmas on a platter. It's cheesy at times, it's not really a romance, even though it's blatantly marketed as one, but I loved it. I had such a fun time reading it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I would recommend this one. The next book I'm going to be reading is One Day in December. One of my best friends recommended this book to me. In this book, we are following a girl who does not believe in love at first sight, and then she herself has a love at first sight moment. She catches eyes with this guy from the bus, and she is just instantly hit with like the feeling of love. And for years she tries to track him down, she tries to find him again, and is never able to find him. Then one year her best friend is in a relationship, and she finally meets the guy that her best friend is in a relationship with, and what do you know? It's the guy that she locked eyes with and fell in love with. I feel like if anything, this book is going to bring on the drama, and that I am ready for. Time for reading. I just picked up boba from my boba shop, and they have a holiday menu right now, and look at these cups. You're kidding me. The cuteness overload. Like, my boba's going to taste better just because of this cup alone. It's gonna taste amazing. I got a taro milk tea today, and I got salted cream, which I don't normally get salted cream, but it's grown on me a lot. I feel like it really balances out the sweetness. Let's give it a taste. So freaking good. And I know it's mostly a gimmick. Like, I know it's just like a silly little cup, but it makes me happy, okay? And in the age we're living in, being happy is important, okay? I finished One Day in December. This book was recommended to me by a bestie, and now our friendship is over because I hated this book. I'm actually really sad that I hated this one, and normally my best friend's book recs hit. They hit different because they know me so well. This one just didn't hit. Well, it hit, but it didn't hit in a good way. It was not a good hit. It was a bad hit. I'm not going to fully ditch that friend, obviously, but they are on thin ice. I joke. I'm going to go into mild spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled for this book, then skip to this timestamp right here. I'll give you a second to go ahead and do that. Skippity-doo-dah, skippity-day. Okay, we're jumping into mild spoilers, so you've been warned. I talked recently about the fact that, like, I don't mind cheating in books. Not to say that I'm a cheating supporter. I just think if a character is cheated on, or if there's, like, a side character situation that is used as a way to, like, explore the badness that comes with cheating, then like I can understand it, I can be on board with it. Not to say that I support it. Again, I'm not here for cheating, but there are times when it can be used in a way to like teach a lesson or bring understanding to a situation. This one, the cheating that happens in here is both emotional and goes to a physical place, and I feel like, in my opinion, is romanticized. I feel like there was like next to no consequences when things kind of come out. Like, sure, there is some fallout that happens, but it feels like a slap on the wrist and then things just go back to normal. And that I have a problem with that. I have such a big problem with that. Back to non-spoilery bits. Welcome back if you skipped that last part. I always forget how hard it is to have boba while I film videos because like I suck the balls in and chew on them. That sounded so terrible. Because of the mild spoilery bit that I just mentioned, I just had such a hard time caring for the characters and feeling any kind of way about them because I was just so annoyed and so heated and so frustrated with the situation that was happening. It just like completely clouded my experience. And not to say that like everything in this book is surrounding the romance, but I feel like it constantly goes back to it, and it's not a very good romance. It's not a healthy romance. It's a very bad romance. Rah, 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 rah. Ga, ga, ooh la la. Want your bad romance. There are other things that happen outside of the romance. Lori is dealing with grief, and Jack is put in this like life-altering situation. But at the end of the day, their faults just completely overshadowed everything. I couldn't overlook the fact that they were doing such a bad thing, and so it was just so hard to like get invested in them and to care. So that's my main issue, my main gripe with this book, is that it just was like so hard to overlook. I feel like the people that skip the spoilery part are just going to be like so confused as to what I'm talking about. I do like the ideas it brought forward. Like I like the concept of like missed opportunities, how timing is everything, but I feel like there was a healthier way to explore these ideas. I'm sad that I didn't like it, and I'm sad that like the one element just like overshadowed my experience with this book, but it did. I can't help that. I'm going to try not to harbor these feelings and move on with my life. life. That's the goal. The next book that I will be reading is The Holiday Swap. In this book, we are following twins Cass and Charlie. Cass and Charlie? Cass and Charlie. Yes, Cass and Charlie. I don't know what I was thinking her name was, but I was about to say Charles. That is not her name. It's Charlie. Charlie hosts a baking show and Cass is running her family's bakery. But one day Charlie gets injured and she loses her sense of smell and taste, which are two very important things when it comes to her hosting job. So Charlie and Cass do something that they haven't done since they were kids, and that is swap places, which is obviously going to end them up in some kind of chaos, and I am here for it. I feel like this one is already setting up the Hallmarky vibes. Like, I feel it in reading that description. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling the cheesiness, I'm feeling the lightheartedness, and I'm kind of here for it. I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not mad at it. Time for reading, and time for me to go chug this boba. I finished The Holiday Swap, another book that had me hungry the whole time reading it. I need baked goods immediately. 'Tis the season to stuff your face with baked goods. Am I right? I'm right. Even though I went into this one expecting it to be kind of that like Hallmarky cheesy vibe, I still had a cringe fest of a time. The dialogue gave me the ick with how cringe it was at times, and you just like know where it's going to go. Like, you know the chaotic place it's going to go. It's pretty predictable. Like, of course the sisters are going to swap places and then fall in love. So in that sense, it falls into a predictable place. I'm not saying that that like ruined the book for me. It just felt like it lacked a bit of creativity. I feel like the author could have done something different with it. I don't know exactly what that different thing would have been, but I feel like I've seen this story before is what it felt like when I was reading this book. I was like, this feels like a very cliche twin swapping with their twin story. And that's what it was. It was cliche. I'm not saying it was bad, because I had a fun time with it. I really appreciated the relationships that developed. I felt like they were really well fleshed out, and you understand like why they like each other. And it's not just a situation where like they like the idea of being in a relationship. Like, there's really solid reasons as to like why they want to be together, and I like really appreciated that. And again, even though I did feel like it wasn't like the most creative or original when it comes to like this sort of twin swapping element, I also loved the complications that came with that and seeing how the twins reacted and overcame certain things. And I also feel like that element could have caused this book to fall into a bit of a confusing place in terms of like the switching and stuff, but the author does a really good job of bringing you clarity when you're reading the different bits of the twins acting like their twin. I'm getting confused explaining myself. So it's easy to follow. If you're looking for like a really lighthearted romance, this might be for you. I personally didn't die hard love it, but I didn't feel like it was like a bad book per se. Like, I enjoyed my time reading it, just not necessarily a standout for me. I think I gave it like a 2.5, 3 star, like around that area. Next up, I'm going to be reading The Christmas Clash. We were delving back into YA romance with this one. I've read a lot of books by Suzanne Park, which is why I wanted to read this one, and I'm super excited to get into it. This is an enemies to lover situation, rivals to lover situation, so we'll see if this one does it better than Sweet on You. From what I understand, we are following two characters in this book, and both of the characters' parents own stores within this mall, and they're competing stores, and the mall is going to close, and their parents are going to lose their businesses, and so they have to like set their differences aside and work together to save the mall in order to save their parents' businesses. That's what I've gathered from the description. I'm not 100% sure. Time for reading. I'm having a sad moment where I'm having to give an author whose books I typically love a really low rating, and I'm so upset about it. Most of Suzanne Park's books have hit for me. Like, I love them. I feel like she brings a lot of uniqueness into like the contemporary lane. And the Christmas Clash in some cases was enjoyable, but for the most part I felt like it just had way too much going on. And where were the Christmas vibes? I was going into this expecting there to be Christmassy vibes, but it felt like there was no Christmas elements woven in. Like, the fact that this is pushed as a Christmas book and has Christmas in the literal title makes zero sense to me. Now, having read this book, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that I was reading a Christmas romance book. But like, tell me, if you were to see this book and read the title and look at the cover, would you expect it would be a Christmassy book? You can't tell me you wouldn't go in with those expectations. The story itself is very much so focused on these two kids who are trying to save this mall from closing down because their parents have stores within the mall, and if the mall closes down, that means their parents lose their businesses essentially. And then we just have like way too many side plots that were happening, and like, I understand that the side plots were used as a way to like make the characters more interesting and to like really flesh them out, and in some cases I can appreciate that, but I just feel like it was a little too much. If we pulled back a little bit on these side plots and really honed in on the main plot, I feel like I would have enjoyed this so much more, because I feel like there is a way to have like happy medium, to have like a really balanced out story where we have those side plots but it doesn't take away from the overall story. And I feel like that's just where we ended up here, is that a lot of the side plots, while they did like really give us more information on the characters, it caused a lot of detours within the story and just like took away from the main plot, and also like really took away from the pacing as well. I just wish that that aspect of the book was toned down a little bit. There's a big focus on this family rivalry between these two families and their businesses. Like, they do not get along, they do not talk to each other, but they once did get along. And I just could not buy into the rivalry. And then when we get the reveal behind the rivalry, like, I felt a little bit let down by it, honestly. And then the enemies to lovers situation, which this is a problem that I have often with enemies to lovers. It felt so contrived, it felt so forced, and maybe that's because when you are told that a book has an element, you kind of can't help but go in with certain expectations. And yes, my expectations were not met, but I just felt like the enemies to lovers situation just felt so forced and not natural at all. I love the enemies to lovers trope, but I feel like people barely ever do it justice. I'm sad to say that I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars, and I want to be clear here. If you were looking for a Christmas romance story, do not pick up this book. It is not Christmassy. Like, there's a few Christmas elements. Sometimes it can be fun to rant about books, but when it's by an author that you've loved in the past, it is not fun. I do not enjoy when I love an author's works and then I read one of their books and I just am so disappointed by it. Like, it makes me more sad than anything. The next and final book that I will be reading for this video is All I Want for Christmas. I've had this book for so long, and for some reason I just have this feeling that if I don't read this book for this video, then I will never read this book. Like, that's just where I feel like I am with this book, because it's one that I like want to read every time Christmas and the holidays come around, and I just never get to it. So I'm going to force myself to read it for this video, but I'm going into it excited. I'm not like really forcing myself to read it. Like, I want to read it, and I feel like I have a good excuse to read it now. Themed videos can be very helpful to me. This is a rather short book, so I should be able to finish it either today or by tomorrow, but in it we are following this girl named Bailey who works at a bookshop, and she has one Christmas wish, and that is to kiss somebody under the mistletoe. So we follow her as she attempts to make that wish come true. This is another YA romance. I feel like this video has been pretty balanced with like adult and YA books, which I'm pretty happy with. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one and seeing how I feel about it. I will let you know all of my thoughts. Time for reading. I pulled out the Christmas sweater for the last part of the video. I finished All I Want for Christmas and I feel very disappointed by it, but I'm also like not shocked by the fact that I'm disappointed by it. Let's start with some positives. I feel like one thing that I really appreciated about this book is the fact that like the Christmas vibes are present. They are in your face. It delivered on the Christmas front, and I so appreciated that because that's something that I just like really wanted. I wanted them not to only have this like romance moment, but I also wanted them to have like full on holiday vibes. And this one feels like Santa Claus came through and just vomited his Christmas cheer all over it. So I really enjoyed reading his Christmas vomit. There's this big cookie swap that takes place in this, and I loved that aspect of it. It made me want cookies so bad. If there's one thing that I've learned about all these holiday romances is that they just make me hungry. Like, I feel like a lot of them had some kind of like baking element in it, and that aspect just like had my stomach rumbling and a grumbling while I was reading. Now, the downfall of this book was the love triangle situation that popped up. I did not go into it expecting there to be a love triangle, and I really thought that we would avoid an element like that because this book is so short. And if you're going to weave in a love triangle, you need enough time to like really make it fleshed out and feel believable. And there was just no time for that at all. No time to develop it to make it feel believable. I already have a hard time with love triangles as it is. Like, I'm not gonna DNF a book because of a love triangle. More times than not, I can like overlook them and just like let it exist and just kind of not think too deeply about it, because if I think too deeply about it, I'm gonna get annoyed with it. And with this one, I was open to it. I didn't immediately have like the DNF thought pop into my mind. I was just like, it's there, I'm gonna let it exist and see how I feel about it. But the way that I felt about it was I felt anger towards it. I felt hatred for it. And I was just having a hard time finding myself invested. And it didn't help that the author had like a lot of like really cringy dialogue going on. And then it was also like flooded in pop culture references. And typically I don't mind pop culture references, but it felt like the author was trying to make it known that they know what the teens are down with and like just make it feel relatable, and it just it was not hitting. And maybe I have just grown out of YA books. Like, maybe that's the situation here. And it's not to say that I'm never gonna pick up a YA book ever again, but I think I have to do like really solid research before I pick up YA books moving forward, because I think it's just gotten to a point where I can't just like pick up any YA book and expect to enjoy it like I used to be able to do. It is a short and sweet book, and I don't regret reading it. Like, I had a good time with it. There were just elements in it that were like driving me bonkers as I was reading it, and I just kind of had to like overlook it. So Overall, I ended up giving this book a 2.5 out of 5 stars. The time has come to rank the books Dance Mom's Pyramid style. I want to embrace my inner Abby Lee. Though dear God, I hope I do not have an inner Abby Lee. At the bottom of the pyramid, which I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is, One Day in December. Reading you was One Day in December I Will Not Get Back. Another bottomer, The Christmas Clash. How can you put Christmas in the title and hardly have any Christmas in you at all? You're not even a Christmas book. Stop acting like a Christmas book. Last book on the bottom we have All I Want for Christmas. All I Want for Christmas is for love triangles to become extinct. Moving on up, we've got The Holiday Swap. Not bad, not good, basically a Hallmark movie. Next we've got Sweet on You. You were a little predictable, the romance was a little bit rushed, but for the most part you were sweet. Taking the cake is Talk Santa to Me. I understand that it really should not be marketed as a romance, and it makes no sense for it to be my top tier book when the romance was not at the forefront, but I just loved it. Enough for it to be at the top of the pyramid, so the top it will be. This is my pyramid ranking for the books I read for this holiday reading vlog. That is it for Read and Rank Holiday Romance Edition. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm pretty sure this video is going up on Christmas because I got pretty behind on it, so it's just landing on Christmas, but I hope that you guys have a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have any recommendations for me for holiday romances for the future. I'm not going to be reading any more in December, but I feel like a lot of the books that I read for this video were a big miss. There are only 2 books that I would highly recommend. One is Talk Santa to Me and the other is Sweet on You. Other than that, I can't really recommend any of the other books. Like, they were fine, but they were not recommendation worthy. So let me know if you guys have any recommendations for me down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!